Hey, my name's Josh Walker. I'm one of the owners of Arete Investing, and this is the Good at Money podcast. Today, we're going to talk about the tax game. So, we've already done an episode on taxes. This is different. This is why you should care and how you can win the tax game. So, we've talked about the money game in the past. I think it is very beneficial to think about the process of growing your wealth and hitting your financial goals as a game, not to make it flippant, but because you need a game plan, you need a strategy, and you need to go execute it. This will probably be a quicker podcast, but we will cut this will if you pay attention to this will be one of the most impactful things that you can ever do to grow your wealth. If you are going to pick one thing, we talked about in the money game episode that you should pick a thing and then go down the rabbit hole, start digging into it, start learning a few things. It doesn't take that much effort to become pretty proficient in a lot of these things. If I was going to start with one thing, I would make it taxes. It's not that complicated, and the impact can be enormous. Let's talk about why. We're going to go through two examples. The first example is going to be someone who invests and really doesn't pay attention to their taxes. It's a successful investment, and they take their profit and they pay their taxes. On the other side, we're going to go through an example of somebody who has a strategy to eliminate their taxes. So let's say you invest $100,000 in a deal for round numbers. It's a very successful deal, and you double your money in 3 years. That's not unheard of, but it's very successful. Their tax liability through long-term gains is 20%. So they've profited $100,000. They're going to have to pay 20% of that in taxes, so $20,000. So their profit that they are left with, their net profit is $80,000. They're going to then go reinvest that entire amount, the initial $100,000 that they got back and the profit of $180,000. They reinvest that into a similar deal and get the same result. 3 years later, they double their money again. So they took $180,000 and they made an additional $180,000. But again, 20% long-term gains, and that knocks their profit down from $180,000 to $144,000. So in 6 years, they've had two successful deals and they've profited $144,000. That's extremely respectable, and nobody would complain about that. Now let's go through somebody who has a strategy. They invest the same $100,000 in a deal. They double their money in 3 years. Their tax liability is zero because they have other investments that have depreciation to offset these gains. So they are able to keep that full profit, the full $100,000. They reinvest it along with the original principal. So they reinvest $200,000 and they get the same result again. Now their profit is $200,000. So over 6 years, two successful deals, they've profited $200,000. That's a 39% increase in profits just because they understood how to eliminate their taxes. So how do you do this? Bank passive losses to offset eventual gains. Passive losses are typically, or passive gains or losses are found in syndicated deals and rental income, long-term rental for sure. You can do some things with short-term rentals, Airbnbs, to make it either way. You can make them passive or you can make them active gains if you do a few things, which is a pretty cool trick to decrease your W-2 taxes, but we'll get into that later. But you do this by investing in deals that are designed to eliminate your taxes. These deals are typically assets that are used to generate cash flow, and they are not sold at the end of the deal. So think ATMs. We've invested over and over and over in an ATM fund. With this fund, you can take the depreciation on the front end and you can take bonus depreciation, so you can get a significant amount of that depreciation in year one. And there's no sale on the end, so there's no recapture of that depreciation on the back end. Those machines just life out. So typically these deals are high cash flow, high tax advantages. You can use those to offset the eventual long-term gains from some of these growth investments like apartment complexes or mobile home parks. On the flip side, you can take short-term rentals and create active losses by taking the depreciation in those. There's a few things that you have to do. If you have what's called material participation and an average stay of 7 days or less, you can make this active income, so active gains or losses. Google what material participation is. There's 7 different ways you can do it. But if you have those two things, you can then take that depreciation, make it an active loss, and offset your W-2 income. Offsetting W-2 taxes is very, very difficult to do, especially with something like you can do on the side, like short-term rentals. So the other thing is you need to keep track of your passive losses. Your tax accountant should do this for you, but ask them, make sure you understand how many passive losses am I carrying in to this year, and then think about what could potentially sell, what kind of passive gains am I going to have? Do I have enough passive losses to offset that? And if you don't, go create them, go find these kinds of deals. We'll do some more episodes that will get into the exact specifics of these kinds of deals, but think about investing in deals that have tangible equipment that is creating cash flow that is not sold at the end, so there's no recapture. But know where you are. When we boil all of this down, it's all kind of the same premise. Know where you are today, know where you want to go, and make a map, right? Know I need to create a bunch of cash flow, or I need to create growth over time. I'm going to map this out. This is my potential tax hit for this year. Now I'm going to invest in certain deals to where I know I'm going to offset that. I'm going to bank these passive losses on the front end by investing X amount of money in this kind of deal that's going to create cash flow for me anyway, which is great. But now I'm going to have this bank of passive losses. Now I'm going to go over here and start investing in some growth. It doesn't have to be in that order, but that's kind of how I think about it. This is what I refer to as the active part of passive deals. There's all these arguments about what's truly passive. It doesn't really matter. These are as passive as it gets, but man, it pays off a ton if you will spend a little bit of time just learning a few little things, and the impact can be huge. 39% increase in your profits in an example of 2 deals, just by understanding that if I invest in 1 or 2 other passive deals that are designed to take care of my taxes on these other deals, and I can completely eliminate them. I hope that this was extremely helpful for you. Our goal is to provide as many people as possible with the knowledge and skills to become good at money. If this benefits you, we would love it. It would mean the world to us if you would rate and share the podcast. And you can also go to arete.investing.com, ARETE investing.com, and download the complete guide to syndicated real estate deals. Get good at money.